The sky over Elira V buzzed with static blue arcs, the kind that danced when the atmosphere stabilizers had hiccups again. Caleb Wren stood knee-deep in mud, glaring up at the tower like it owed him money. "Come on, you giant electric toothpick," he muttered, slapping the side of his diagnostic tablet. The screen flickered, showing a flat line where there should have been stabilizer pulse data. "You're 32 meters of temperamental junk, and I am not rebooting your core manually." Again. A whirring sound behind him made him flinch. The maintenance drone he'd named Buzzkill was hovering close, its optical sensors blinking in judgment. "I know it's out of alignment, thanks. You're here to assist, not criticize," Caleb snapped. The drone tilted, clicked twice, then sprayed him with a burst of solvent mist. "Oh great, now I smell like sterilized onions. Perfect. That'll help when I inevitably get eaten by jungle lizards." Elira V was beautiful in the way a carnivorous orchid was beautiful. Lush, colorful, and constantly trying to kill you. Terraforming had taken, let's call it a creative turn, about 40 years ago, leaving pockets of dense atmosphere, gravity anomalies, and wildlife that regarded humans as mobile protein packs. Caleb, naturally, had been stationed here because he was resilient under pressure, which apparently translated to complains less than the last guy. He sighed and turned back to the stabilizer tower. It loomed like a rusted spire against the jungle canopy, humming low and wrong. The biosensor cables at the base had wriggled loose again, probably from the last groundquake, probably because this planet hated him personally. He knelt and started reconnecting the cables, fingers sticky with moss residue. That was when he heard it. Not a sound exactly, but the absence of sound. The jungle always had noise, hissing insects, croaking reptiloids, occasional screaming from the deeper thickets. But now silence, heavy, watching. He stood slowly, wiping his hands on his already ruined coveralls. "Buzzkill, run a proximity scan." The drone didn't respond. "Buzzkill." It hovered frozen, then spun wildly, beeped once and dropped like a stone into the mud. "Oh, that's encouraging." He turned. She stood just beyond the edge of the clearing, tall, slender, skin like polished copper under the filtered sunlight, and ears long, elegant, tapering back like stylized leaves carved from bone. She wore a draped outfit that shimmered with embedded tech, not local, not even colonial standard, something older. "Hello," Caleb called, raising a cautious hand. She stepped forward, slow, measured, her eyes locked onto his like she was calibrating to a frequency only she could hear. "You don't recognize me," she said. He blinked. "Should I?" She tilted her head. "Do you remember me, human?" Caleb blinked again. "Okay, gonna need a little more to go on than cryptic space flirtation." She didn't smile. Her eyes flicked upward, scanning the ruins of the palace spires that peeked through the tree canopy behind him. Then she stepped forward, touched a thin pendant at her collarbone, and whispered a phrase that the air itself seemed to bend around. A low tone vibrated through the jungle, and a flash of light pulsed from the stabilizer tower. Caleb's wrist console exploded with alerts. Memory bond invocation. VRIFID. Genetic echo sequence matched. Recording initiated. Protocol 9 flame. Subject status. Consort candidate human. "What the hell?" Caleb stumbled back, slapping at his wrist like it had caught fire. "Buzzkill, wake up. This is above my pay grade. This is several pay grades above." The drone remained motionless. The woman watched him, still and composed. "The sensors recognize the truth," she said, "even if you don't." "Truth? Lady, I don't even recognize my breakfast most days. I barely remember where I parked the rover." "You parked it in a crater," she said, "upside down." Caleb squinted. "Okay, now that's cheating." A mechanical whir announced the arrival of a hovering orb, sleek and black with golden trimming. The colony's legal envoy drone. A projection activated, revealing a floating jellyfish-like creature wearing what looked suspiciously like a powdered wig. "Citizen Caleb Wren," it said in a high-pitched, officious tone. "A memory bond has been invoked in your presence." You are hereby designated a participant in Protocol 9 Flame, subject to heritage verification and cultural integration review. Excuse me, Caleb said, I didn't agree to anything. I just wanted to fix the weather tower. The envoy bobbed. Consent is overridden in cases of ancestral echo alignment. Also, your genetic markers suggest compatibility with multiple lines of Velarethian echotypes. Congratulations. He turned to the woman. You want to explain what an echotype is, or am I just supposed to roll with this and hope it doesn't end with interstellar marriage taxes? She stepped closer, and the air grew cooler around her. Our people once shared more than territory with yours. Long ago, you and we were there. I've been here 3 years, Caleb said, and I don't even remember last week's lunch meeting. What, you think I'm your reincarnated space boyfriend or something? I think, she said softly, you are the resonance, and I am the one who remembered first. Great, Caleb muttered. Space elf with dramatic flair, just my luck. The envoy drone chimed again. Please accompany Calyx V. Laren, subject of origin designation, for bond registration and treaty access review. Resistance will be interpreted as cultural insensitivity punishable by fine or detainment. Cultural what? Calyx offered him a hand. Come, you are not safe now that the bond has triggered. Oh, I'm not safe. Now I'm not safe. You just activated ancient alien GPS on me. I have a toaster that tries to strangle me when I ask it for eggs. She didn't move her hand. This will not stop. Caleb stared at her, at the glowing message on his console, at the forest that had gone too quiet. Then he took her hand. Fine, but if this ends with me being crowned something, I want a cape. A cool one, velvet, with light gold trim. Calyx blinked once slowly. You wore one last time. Oh, of course I did. The elevator wasn't an elevator, technically. It was a gravitic chute connected to something Calyx called the underfold transit well. Caleb called it the tube that tried to digest me. They emerged, eventually, into a wide stone corridor lit by soft blue strands woven into the walls. Caleb stepped out, boots squelching from the remains of Eliravi's favorite mud, trying to reassert some dignity after the ride had flipped him upside down 3 times and scanned his spleen for ancestral impurities. I'm not sure if that counts as transportation or a soft kidnapping, he grumbled, tugging his sleeve back over the slightly glowing mark now etched into his wrist. Seriously, did that tube just tattoo me? It marked you for internal tracking, Calyx replied. Otherwise, the Palace Archive will assume you are a hostile anomaly and vaporize your molecules. Oh, good. So we're doing that thing where we casually mention vaporization as an everyday risk. Perfect. Calyx walked ahead, her boots silent, the hem of her strange, gleaming coat shifting like liquid silver. Her ears twitched subtly when he spoke. Also, Caleb added, trailing her, if your palace has archives that vaporize people, maybe you should consider uploading the data to, I don't know, a non-murdery cloud service. She stopped, turned halfway. Our clouds are sentient. That somehow does not surprise me. The corridor opened into a chamber built like a museum, and a data center, had a baby on a star cruiser. Suspended glyphs hovered in the air, slowly rotating. Crystalline panels pulsed in concentric circles, and old metallic banners hung like long-forgotten honor scrolls. Everything here radiated age, authority, and a very expensive maintenance bill. Calyx touched one of the glyphs. It unfolded into a 3-dimensional spiral of text, images, and symbols that hovered above her palm. This is where your kind and mine first met, she said, before history began erasing the truth. Caleb leaned forward, squinting. Is that a human in a cape riding a winged cephalopod? An ambassador, she nodded, and the squid. An ambassador mount. Well, that explains so much and nothing at all. She flicked her fingers and another glyph opened, this time with a glowing chart of DNA sequences. Symbols interlaced, human and not human. Caleb's breath caught as he saw his own identifier pop into the corner. Okay, I'm gonna ask the dumb question, he said. How does any of this prove I'm involved in, well, anything? You said resonance, like I'm echoing someone from 1,000 years ago. Maybe I just have one of those faces. Calyx narrowed her eyes. The glyphs don't respond to one of those faces. The archive pulsed as another light clicked on overhead, this time a voice crackling through an ancient speaker. Subject Ren Caleb. Cross-index match achieved. Treaty access level, air adjunct. Caleb's jaw slackened. Wait, air what now? Another voice joined them, this one newer, smoother, smugger. Well, said a figure stepping out from a nearby alcove. The past really does have a way of being awkward, doesn't it? He was humanoid. Mostly. Tall, with cybernetic eyes and a coat woven from reactive thread that shimmered with data glyphs. His left arm was replaced with something that looked like a telescoping instrument rack and a collapsible espresso machine. Dr. Hal Grieve, he said with a dramatic bow. Archaeotech specialist, conspiracy enthusiast, occasional indoor scarf wearer. You must be the human surprise Calyx dug up in the weeds. Caleb blinked. How long were you standing in that shadow? About 17 minutes, Hal said. I had snacks. You're a slow walker. Calyx didn't blink. You're not cleared to be here. Hal waved her off. I'm cleared to be wherever the archives hiccup into relevance again. And guess what? This room just lit up like a drunken Starcruiser pilot trying to dock. Caleb pointed at the espresso spout on Hal's arm. Okay, that's neat, and mildly alarming. Hal grinned. The last human to trigger a memory bond. Didn't end well, couple of centuries back. Poor guy exploded, spiritually. That's vague and ominous. Calyx folded her arms. This is different. I sure hope so, Hal replied. Because if it's not, we've got a politically inconvenient air adjunct wandering around a tomb of galactic secrets with the grace of a nervous raccoon. Caleb held up both hands. Hey, I'm just trying to not get atomized by antique light fixtures. I didn't ask for any of this. I was fixing a tower, a weather tower. Calyx turned back to the glyphs, swiping through data. Your DNA unlocked access to level 4 treaty relics. That doesn't happen randomly. The bond invoked a thread sealed before the colony even existed. Hal whistled. Someone at the Accord Preservation Authority is going to lose their minds when they find out. If they find out, she muttered. Caleb took a slow breath. Okay, timeout. Let's just say I'm this, genetic echo or air thing or reincarnated diplomat who wore capes and mounted interstellar squids. What now? I file a report. I sign a galactic prenup. What does being a walking memory do? Calyx turned, the soft light casting her features in sharp contrast. It gives you access to a corridor sealed for over 700 years. She pointed to a door that hadn't existed 30 seconds ago. It shimmered with a soft, metallic pulse and bore a symbol that looked like two hands clasping a star between them. Hal looked at Caleb. I'll be honest, that door probably leads to more questions, danger, and at least one sarcastic AI with boundary issues. I already have one of those, Caleb muttered. Calyx walked forward, her steps slow, reverent. The door scanned her, then turned to Caleb. A gentle chime echoed. Consort designation confirmed. Passage permitted. I'm not a consort, Caleb said, voice rising. You are, Hal said cheerfully, in so many ways. The door opened. Inside, a room bathed in soft starlight revealed a massive table, glass, hovering midair, with projections spinning above it. Star maps, battle simulations, and at the center a blinking cursor labeled Echo Command Restoration Sequence, paused, awaiting key. Calyx looked at Caleb. Your presence here means someone somewhere remembers, even if they tried to forget. Caleb stared at the blinking cursor. Does it have to be me? Unfortunately, Hal said, sipping espresso from his wrist, yes. A klaxon wailed in the distance. The lights dimmed. An old alarm triggered. Unauthorized access detected. Memory suppressors inbound. Prepare for lockdown. Caleb's eye twitched. Memory what? Calyx drew a sleek curved blade from her back. Agents trained to erase living anomalies. They'll be here soon. Caleb turned to Hal. Do you have a backup plan? Hal finished his drink. I did. But it involved a duct system we welded shut last week. So, improvisation. Caleb groaned. I hate improvisation. Calyx cracked her neck. Then stay behind me. He pointed at her blade. Is that thing ceremonial or? She smiled. It glowed. The archive door slammed shut behind them with a groan that sounded suspiciously like disapproval. Caleb leaned against it, panting, as the echo of footsteps faded into the distance. Calyx stood in the center of the chamber, blade still humming faintly in her hand, and Hal was crouched beside a terminal, typing with the dramatic flair of someone who believed every keystroke saved the galaxy. So, Caleb said between breaths, how many memory eraser assassins would you say that was? 6, Calyx replied. Maybe 7. One of them had 2 heads. That still counts as one person. Not if both heads are armed. Caleb made a noise somewhere between a sigh and a whimper. Can we please have one part of this day that doesn't involve ancient death squads? Unlikely, Calyx said. Hal didn't look up. Also, technically, they're not death squads. They're preservation agents. They don't kill you. They just remove all trace of your relevance, like galactic accountants with very sharp tools. Caleb gestured wildly. That's worse. At least if someone shoots me, I die. You're talking about memory deletion. Existence redacted. I'll be the footnote nobody footnotes. Calyx tilted her head. You're not easy to forget. Oh, flattery, in the murder crypt, that's comforting. Hal hit one final key, and the projection above the hovering table snapped into focus. A star map, vast and old, blinking with points of interest, anomalies and routes labeled in 2 languages, human and Velarethian. Calyx stepped forward, gaze narrowing. This is the original Alliance route, the Echo Corridor. Sounds like a very dramatic hallway, Caleb muttered. Hal nodded. Used to link the core systems before the first Alliance collapsed. Most of it's sealed now, buried under treaties, red tape, and at least one planet that exploded out of spite. Caleb squinted at the screen. Wait, what's that blinking icon? Hal tapped it. The projection zoomed into a station orbiting a dead star. Relay Point K7, one of the last unmapped data vaults. No AI control, no outside signal. But if the legends are true, and I love it when legends are true, it holds a full memory trace of the Echo Bond initiators. Calyx spoke slowly. The original consort pair. Bingo, Hal said. We get there. Maybe we figure out why your DNA is throwing the galaxy into a bureaucratic meltdown. Caleb looked from the star map to the terminal to the locked archive door. And what's the over-under on us getting to that relay without being intercepted, obliterated, or reclassified as interstellar fugitives? Caleb, Hal said, grinning. We already are fugitives. Calyx was already walking to the opposite wall, which responded to her presence by opening another hidden panel. Inside, a small, elegant shuttle gleamed with old tech and faint glyphwork. Caleb stared. Okay. Did you just have a secret spaceship stashed behind a wall? Calyx didn't answer. She was already climbing into the pilot's chair. Hal followed, dragging a data core and 3 espresso pods behind him. She used to fly one of these in the Accord's Vanguard fleet. They called her the Starblade. I'm sorry, Caleb said. Starblade. Don't mock it, Calyx said without looking up. It was an earned title. Oh, no judgment. I just think we need to start a band now. The ship systems flickered to life as Calyx touched the console. Lights blinked in a sequence too fast for Caleb to follow, and the glyphs responded to her with something very much like loyalty. Great, Caleb said, climbing into the co-pilot seat. Now I'm officially sitting in an alien memory ship with a warrior elf who might have married me in a past life, a hyperactive historian with a coffee addiction, and, oh look, we're being hailed. The comm screen buzzed. A face appeared, blurry, dressed in official robes and a clearly disapproving expression. This is Administrator Talik of the Thalara Concord. You are in violation of multiple interspecies protocols and accessing restricted diplomatic constructs. Calyx reached over, muted the call. Caleb blinked. Was that legal? No, she said. Was it smart? Yes. Hal was stuffing cables into a socket. We should probably leave. Like yesterday, like 3 days before now. The ship's engine spun up with a deep hum. Outside, warning sirens echoed as suppressor units began converging on their location. Caleb looked back one last time at the archive chamber as the bay doors opened. I didn't even get to take a souvenir. Calyx launched them with a pulse of gravity lift, so strong Caleb thought his teeth tried to rearrange themselves. In orbit, the planet shrank rapidly behind them. Caleb watched the curve of it retreat through the viewport. You know, I was just starting to get used to the whole mud and screaming lizard ambience. Hal strapped in, eyes on the nav. Elira V was only the appetizer. Wait till you see where we're going. Relay K7, S in the Forgotten Belt, which is code for uninsured and statistically haunted. Terrific. Calyx locked coordinates and activated the fold drive. The ship shivered around them. Stars stretched, curved, and then snapped. When the universe settled again, they were drifting in a cold, quiet field of debris. The relay hung ahead, massive, dark, and bristling with dormant antennas. Orbiting it were chunks of forgotten ships, broken satellites, and one suspiciously intact vending pod still displaying a "Try our new neutron NUTRIBARS" ad. Here we are, Hal said dramatically. Relay point K7. Home of secrets, lies, and probably one very cranky AI. Caleb leaned back. Just once, I'd like to arrive somewhere that didn't come with ominous foreshadowing. Calyx stood, already moving toward the airlock. We'll need to go in manually. The interface won't respond remotely. Hal stood too, grabbing a scanner and his emergency espresso thermos. Let's hope it hasn't grown a personality. The last time I met a dormant AI, it tried to sue me for emotional neglect. Caleb sighed. Yeah, this is gonna go great. Calyx looked back at him as the airlock hissed open. You asked what happens next, she said. Yeah. She smiled faintly. Now we remember. The airlock hissed open with the unsettling enthusiasm of something that hadn't done its job in 2 centuries. A cloud of dust drifted into their shuttle, followed by a voice that sounded like someone had programmed sarcasm into a broken harmonica. Intrusion detected. Welcome to Relay Point K7. We hope you enjoyed your life. Caleb froze. Did the door just threaten me? Hal checked his scanner. No, that's just the Relay AI. Its name is TARS-9. It was modeled after a diplomat from pre-accord negotiations. Very polite, very ominous, like if a haunted teapot went a finishing school. Calyx stepped into the relay without hesitation. It recognizes the bond. It won't attack. Unless it gets bored. Caleb stayed directly behind her, gripping his plasma wrench like it was both a weapon and a security blanket. Fantastic. Let's just stroll through the spooky abandoned memory bank full of forgotten space secrets and hope the killer AI is in a good mood. The hallway beyond the airlock lit up one flickering panel at a time, revealing an endless corridor with glyphs crawling along the walls like illuminated vines. The light pulsed in sync with Calyx's heartbeat. Caleb knew that because his wrist console vibrated helpfully and announced, "Synchronicity detected. You are currently tethered to subject Calyx V. Laren at a neurological compatibility ratio of 92.3%. Please refrain from emotional conflict or sarcasm spikes." He stared at it. Okay, first of all, how dare you? Hal was already halfway down the corridor, muttering to himself and scanning every glyph like he was speed reading a really dramatic diary. This is wild. These memory strands are direct neural captures. Pure, raw cognition. You could actually feel what someone experienced, not just read it. Caleb stopped. Wait, like live someone's life. Hal nodded, or their death. Or their allergic reactions. One guy apparently sneezed so hard during a treaty signing that both sides declared a truce just to get out of the room. Calyx gestured them forward. The hallway opened into a circular chamber where a pedestal weighted cables rising from it like metal vines. Above it floated a sphere of light, spinning slowly, surrounded by a faint field of static. Caleb stepped forward. So, that's it. That's the core memory. Calyx nodded. Touch it. It will respond to your genetic signal. The rest of the corridor will remain sealed without it. Caleb raised an eyebrow. What if I get zapped into a coma or spontaneously become fluent in Velarethian throat singing? Then we'll adapt, she said. Hal gave a thumbs up. I brought smelling salts and sarcasm. You'll be fine. Caleb sighed and reached out. The moment his fingers touched the sphere, the room fell away. He was standing in a grand hall. Not stone and silence, but light and sound. Diplomats, humans and Velarethians alike, arguing and laughing and floating data glyphs through the air like party balloons. At the center, two figures stood. A woman with long silver hair and ears like calyxes, and a man who looked far too much like Caleb for coincidence. They stood together, hands clasped over a shared data tablet, activating the original Echo Treaty. Caleb felt the echo slam into his mind like a wave. Emotions, memories, not his but familiar. Hope, tension. A sense of desperate unity, like the galaxy itself teetered on the edge of collapse and only these two souls, could bridge the gap. The vision shifted. Another time, another place. The same two figures, older, worn, the alliance unraveling, betrayals whispered in coded transmissions. A child part human, part Velarethian, hidden from both sides. Then silence. The vision snapped away. Caleb stumbled back, gasping. Calyx caught him. What did you see? Us, he said. Or them, I don't know. It was like I was there, I was him. Hal looked like someone had just handed him proof that every conspiracy he ever believed was real, and came with bonus footnotes. A hybrid child. That's huge. That's not just politically inconvenient. That's full-on universe rewrite-level revelation. Calyx turned away, voice low. The child was erased from our history, a threat to both bloodlines. A catalyst for the collapse. Caleb pointed at the sphere. Well, the relay remembers, and now I do too. Before anyone could respond, the relay AI's voice returned, louder and colder. Unauthorized neural bridge accessed. External observers detected. Lockdown initiated. Hal spun. Wait, what external observers? The chamber dimmed. Emergency lights flared red. The relay's outer hull groaned as something large docked onto it. Calyx turned toward the exit. We've been followed. Caleb sighed. Why wouldn't we be? Hal pulled a small pistol from his jacket and a vial of espresso from the other. Two choices, fight or escape. I recommend escape. I've seen your aim, Caleb. I was aiming at the wall on purpose. Then you're an incredible success. The shuttle's AI buzzed over comms. Incoming boarding signatures, hostiles identified, suppressor-class agents. One is armed with a memory spike cannon. Caleb blinked. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it hurts retroactively. Calyx was already running. We need to get to the core terminal. If we can trigger a full memory release, the relay will transmit everything to open networks before it's scrubbed. Hal chased after her. Wait, you want to broadcast the most sensitive buried diplomatic scandal in recorded history. That's not a political storm. That's a diplomatic tsunami. Caleb followed them both. Hey, just a suggestion. Maybe we can start with leaking one scandal at a time. Warm the galaxy up to the idea I have ancient alien in-laws. The suppressor agents burst through the far wall with practiced precision, but Calyx moved faster, sliding across the floor and hurling an EMP blade into the first one's chest. Hal hit another with a localized memory disruptor that made the agent forget why he was there, who he was, and whether chairs existed. Caleb grabbed the terminal cables, plugged them into his console, and slammed his palm on the activation panel. The relay surged. The memories poured out into orbit across satellites, through hidden beacons still listening in the dark. History screamed back into the present, unfiltered, raw. The agents froze. The lights shifted from red to violet. And the AI voice returned. Protocol breach irreversible. Echo restoration complete. All witnesses authenticated. You may now resume panicking. Caleb looked up at Calyx, her chest heaving, eyes locked on the cascade of light across the chamber. Well, he said, now everyone remembers. The ceasefire lasted exactly 3 days, which, all things considered, was a galactic record for anything involving disputed ancestry, shattered treaties, and the sudden rediscovery of a centuries-buried interspecies marriage pact. 3 days, Caleb muttered, pacing inside the communications chamber of the neutral diplomatic station, now floating somewhere between the Thalara conquered and Earth, Gov's jurisdiction. We couldn't even make it to the weekend. Hal peeked up from a console covered in diplomatic insults disguised as policy drafts. Technically, this galaxy doesn't have weekends, just solar rest cycles and intermission windows. Calyx was silent, arms crossed, staring at the holographic broadcast of the summit delegates shouting over each other. One of the Velarethian envoys had just accused a human ambassador of weaponizing nostalgia. The ambassador had retaliated by throwing a chair, not metaphorically. Caleb stopped pacing and pointed at the chaos. Why did we even bother uploading the memory archive if all it did was give everyone more things to fight about? Because now they know, Calyx said. Yeah, well, knowledge is apparently not the same as wisdom, he replied, or patience, or basic table manners. Hal raised a finger. To be fair, the treaty renewal table was made of actual starwood. It was begging to be flipped. It's practically a cinematic prop. Caleb dropped into a chair with a sigh. So that's it. We threw the biggest historical revelation since warp travel into the data stream, and the galaxy's just going to argue about who gets custody of the legacy. Calyx turned toward him. That's not all it did. He looked at her, then at the small memory core resting on the table between them, the encrypted segment from Relay K7, the one that hadn't been part of the broadcast, the one that held the genetic keys, the names, the coordinates of every living Echo descendant, including the hybrid line, including the erased child. Caleb stared at the core. They're going to come for it eventually. They already are, Calyx said, but it won't matter, we copied it. He blinked. We what? 3 decoys, 2 dispersal satellites, and 1 hidden in the wristband you never take off. Caleb checked his wristband. Wait, this is a decoy. No, Hal said. That one's the real one. But now that you've said that aloud in a monitored chamber, none of them are. Calyx's ears twitched, the way they always did when she was trying not to laugh. It's safer this way. Caleb looked between them. You both are terrifying. Hal grinned. Thank you. Calyx sat across from him. The core isn't just history, it's potential. That child, their descendants, they're living proof the alliance worked. Not just once. It endured. Caleb looked down at the wristband. And now what? We become ambassadors, archivists, galactic babysitters for people who might share half our blood and all of our baggage. You don't have to do anything, Calyx said. You've done enough. He shook his head. No, that's not how this ends. I was dragged into this thing because my DNA set off an ancient doorbell, but I stayed because I wanted to understand, to make it mean something. Hal stood, stretched, and reached into his coat for 2 glass vials. Then congratulations, because Earth Gov just nominated you to represent the Echo Accord Initiative. They want you on the joint delegation. Also, this one is for you. Caleb caught the vial. What is it? Diplomatic serum. It boosts your tolerance for passive aggression. Calyx raised a brow. Does it work? Hal downed his own. Nope. Caleb stared at the vial. Do I have to wear robes or give speeches? Calyx nodded. Probably, and there will be ceremonies. Can I refuse? You could, she said, but then I'd have to speak on your behalf. He blinked. Oh no. Mummy. Hal grinned. The galaxy loves a reluctant legend. The summit broadcast flickered again. One of the newer human delegates, young, nervous, wearing a suit that looked 2 sizes too big, stood up and said something quietly. The translator bot took a moment before catching up. Let them speak for themselves. The room quieted, slowly, reluctantly, but it happened. Caleb watched as both sides turned toward the screen. Toward the small window where he sat, Calyx at his side, Hal looming behind like a caffeinated crypt-keeper. He cleared his throat. "Hi, I'm Caleb. I fix weather towers, or I did. Now apparently I fix forgotten alliances. I wasn't trained for this. I didn't ask for this, but I remember now. And I think you all do too. So maybe instead of arguing over the past, we build something that doesn't need hiding, and maybe stop flipping furniture." There was silence. Then one of the Velarethian elders spoke. "We accept the consort's address." Hal whispered, "You're officially a consort now. There's a badge." Caleb groaned. "Please tell me it doesn't sparkle." "It glows," Calyx said, subtly. The summit dissolved into a flurry of debate, but it was quieter now. Less yelling, more leaning in, questions instead of accusations, the kind of noise progress makes when it doesn't realize it's happening. Later on the shuttle, Calyx sat with him beneath the faint light of 2 moons and a refueling beacon blinking politely in the distance. "You changed," she said. Caleb leaned back against the wall. "I think I just remembered how to care about something, even if it was bigger than me. Maybe because it was." "You're not who you were when we met." "No," he said, "but I like this version